Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Sandy. I'm Allison Stillman, and I'm filling in for the marvelous Marla Goldberrg, who is away in school at the moment. And I am grateful to be here because I know this is going to be an amazing conversation. So I'm an aromatic alchemist, author, teacher, and transformational life coach. And because I'm an aromatic alchemist, I want to just bring in real quick before we get started a whole frequency that I would love to help permeate this show today. I had dreams all night with my angels, and they said, you have to bring this frequency of love into the show today. And I'm going to start that by, I have a blend called Love. So I'm going to just put a couple drops on. And so this is a combination of 3 different types of rose, as well as all of the other essential oils that are known for enhancing the vibration of love. So I'm just going to put this into the etheric, energetic web that we're all in right now, and invite the frequency of love to really permeate not only me, Sandy, but every one of you that are watching or listening to this today, because it's so important for us to raise our frequency of love at this time on the planet and create a little magic. So as magic goes, Sandy is able to transform a raw substance into a true talisman. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. But a talisman is a sacred art object that holds the power of a specific time and detailed purpose. As an astrologer, she keeps her eyes on the movement of the planets, and when aligned in perfect accordance with a welcomed and auspicious event, she creates her magic. Can't wait to hear more about that. Being born on the last day and degree of the zodiac, Sandy easily holds the space, time, and energy of the entire year. She can feel and utilize the cosmic force as she embodies as the conduit to instill the current astrological planetary order into the Milfour clay beads. Sandy and her daughter and business partner, Alexandra, travel the world conducting their own branded retreats and co-creating retreats with other world changers. She welcomes her tribe to tell their intention story. I want to hear more about that too. As she follows her bracelets to manifest the proper vision, attitude, and action she hand rolls into her intention beads products. So welcome, Sandy Rueve. Great to be in connection with you. And I can't wait to hear what you have to share with us.
Thanks, Allison. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, when I hear my bio, it transports me into, wow, what would that be like? What is that exactly, right? And then I get that, oh my God, that's me. That's what I do.
I relate to that so much.
Yeah, it's really nice. Well, thank you for being, thanks for inviting me here and being here with you right now. I'd love to talk about what I do and who I am and how this got started. We all have our stories, right?
Would love to hear how that you started your spiritual journey and how it led you to right here.
Well, I'll try and keep it nipped and tucked because I am a Pisces, and my Mercury, my planet of communication, is also in Pisces. So as I love mythology, right, and fairy tale and what ifs and happy fairy tale stories, I also don't have boundaries. So Allison, you may have to pull me in at some point, since my daughter and business partner Alex is not here, to like, all right, Mom, enough. We're on a time.
I'll do what I can, Sandy. I'll do what I can, but I want to hear your story. I want to hear how you got to this point in time.
And I say that too, because by knowing your astrology, knowing your natal placement of what the spindle that you came into from your higher being self as soul or spirit, as you spindle down through the heavens, through the cosmic patterns, onto the earth plane, right? And then we're born with skin and bones and structure. We embody the spirit, and then we embody what we spindle down from or into. So that Mercury in Pisces you'll see how that performs in our next hour here. So how I got started in astrology. Now, I always knew I was a Pisces growing up, but I was never interested in astrology. And they're literally, and I've never done the poll, that how many professional astrologers have started their study by not believing in astrology. I was one. But my daughter, who is now my business partner, 20 years ago, purchased for a Christmas gift for me an astrology reading. So it was in a card, and I thought it was an idea. And so 4 months later, she said, Mom, that's going to expire soon. I'm like, you already bought it? You paid for it? What? So she's like, you better get going. So I booked my appointment, and with the lovely Barbara Shermer, she has left the planet. I walked in very like, I got to get going back to my work. And she looked at my chart, this configuration of a round circle with all of these funny looking glyphs. You've seen a chart. And she told me my story. And I was knocked over thinking she had Googled me. And I left and thought, that's really interesting. She also made a prediction before I left and said, you will be known around the world within 10 years as a talisman maker. I was like, so that's an absolute no. Goodbye. And I got home, my daughter, how to go. And I said, it's very interesting. So many things were right. I started studying immediately. And within 7 years, I got this happening, which I'll talk about, which is quite interesting. It's a great storyline. I got this knockover. And again, this is an astrological phenomena that when you get transiting Uranus, the planet of lightning bolts, aha messages, spirit guidance, right, Allison? Uranus, which can create chaos and brilliance. That day that I had Uranus sitting on and Jupiter, the ruler of my sun, sitting on my natal sun, I was in my garden. And I didn't realize that was going on in the sky at the time.
I was going to ask you that if you knew that
right?
That was happening.
It's like I had to go back in and look, which often happens. It's like an election chart, right? It's like a chart, like what was going on when that happened, right? We look at the election. And so I was in the garden gardening. I was all by myself. I was in the backyard. Nobody was there. And somebody I felt was coming up behind me and whispering in my ear. And I fell forward, busted my plants, freaked out, stood up. There was no one there. And I got the messages. And it was like, you are to make beads, because I was already a 30-year Millefiori artist. And I had a big business called She Beads with 40 employees here in Chicago. And I got this message very clear. Make beads at certain astrological times, and you are making the definition of a talisman. And I went, oh my God, that's a talisman. And so I went in and I'm, like I said, a Mercury in Pisces. I'm not really a writer. And I went in, but when I say that and I hear somebody else say that, I'm like, oh, au contraire. We're all writers. We're all storytellers. Right. So as I said, I'm not a writer, and I'm getting all this download energy on how to do it, what to call it. And a funny add-on story here. So I call my daughter, and it was Memorial Day weekend of 2010. And I call my daughter and I said, Alex, get me intentionbeads.com. Now, she has worked for me with my she beads. We had 65 URLs with GoDaddy. And she's like, Mom, it's a Saturday. I'm on a boat in Lake Michigan. I'm like, Alex, you'll never hear me say this story again. I've never said it before. One time I got a message from Spirit. Go on GoDaddy and get us intentionbeads.com. And she's like, Mom, I'm going to have to get a, whatever you call those hotspots, because this is 12 years ago.
Right.
And she's like, besides, it's a .com. Somebody already has it. This is So I said, please just do this one thing for me. And she did. She called me back like 10 minutes later and said, I got it. The intentionbeads.com was let go 2 days ago.
Perfect. Yes.
Well, from that moment on, and when I got my message, I have not, Allison, I have not been off that path since I began, regardless of not of journeying through, speed bumps or, in the mud or in the dark. Regardless of what's going on in my personal life versus the business life or in the world, I have not been off my mark.
So can I ask you, Sandy, when you work with somebody and you create a talisman for them, do you look at their chart? Do they come to you?
Yes.
Explain that process to me. I'd love to hear how you work with individuals and what they can expect and benefit from, et cetera.
So there are two intention bracelets that are the talisman bracelets. There's what's called universal. They're for everyone. And then there's personal. And I got this message that date too, that I make a talisman, like here's one of my talismans I have on right now. This is for putting all my retreats together. And I also make it in small bead for those that like the less Swarovski crystal-y one. But I'll talk about my talismans. I have 4 of them on right now. That the universals are just beautiful, auspicious times that I make beads for that I see that's upcoming. So I made some this week. And they're on my website. Those are available because they have an intention and an affirmation that relates to the chart. So what I'm hoping is a child, a baby, was born at that exact location, at the exact time, in the exact day, would automatically hold this beautiful, beautiful energy. But I'm not birthing babies.
Right.
Particularly at a certain time on a day in a certain location, right?
Well, you kind of are. You're birthing these intentional talismans. So
good point.
Yes.
And I could sideline into the 5th house. The 5th house in one's natal chart is the house of children and the house of creation. So when we say procreation, it's a creation. So that's self-expression when we were childbirthing our own self, from our own self. So anyway, that's just a little astrology in there. So, and then one purchases that and I follow that intention bracelet around because it will tell a story. Now the personals, which you're referring to, is they are not made yet. I don't know what you want, Allison. Let's just pretend, right?
Right.
So you go on, you purchase this, and I send you a long PDF, and we set up a discovery call. It's a Zoom call. I give you your chart. We go over your chart briefly on what is promised in your life, right? What is your natal promise? What's your birth promise that you spindled into the earth? And then we talk about, you tell me about what you're working on. What's on your plate? What do you want to do? What do you want to remove? Whatever the intention is.
Right.
And we come up with a first draft of the intention, what the goal is, like what are we focusing on? And then the affirmation is that I am statement or I trust statement. So that by saying that, and I know your work, Allison, by
It's the
repeating,
same. Yeah. My coaching sessions are so much the same. Exactly. Yeah.
because by repeating that affirmation, that is, I trust my power in moving forward in my career as I see my knowledge and skill being useful to others, or whatever it is you would say.
Right.
But
Whatever
keeping
your
your eye on
intention
the
is.
goal as you say this, you're moving closer and closer to the goal. And that's when your subconscious and conscious mind go, oh, I hear I'm confident. I align with confidence, even though I
Right.
don't really feel like it, right?
Right.
So it's that the power of the mind. And, like I said, you know this information.
Well,
Now,
and then also, we have these neurons in our brain that are hardwired to stay the same for survival. And so, wanting to change who you are or acknowledging the truth of who you are, as opposed to what you've been fed to believe, it requires walking through that space of uncomfortableness, right? And being consistent. And so, I love that you could create a talisman for somebody who's working on a specific issue with a goal in mind based on the astrological movement of the planets that would be most auspicious to fulfilling that goal.
so then once we get to those keywords, right, in the goal, then I go look at the upcoming transits that are happening in comparison to your natal chart. So I'm moving the moon, I'm moving Venus, I'm looking at the 10th house cusp if it's a career, I'm looking at the 7th house cusp if it's about a committed relationship, I'm looking at 6th houses if it's about health. And then I find, and usually, Allison, it's only happened one time in 12 years, that I had to put a client off about 6 months. Where, like, wow, in 6 months, you will have this once in a lifetime situation that is happening that is so grand that we should wait. But typically, Allison, right? We have a sense that, oh, I feel like I need to do this pretty soon, or now I got to focus on this now so I can have this soon after. And usually I'll find a time that's upcoming, sometimes in the next 5 to 6 weeks. That is like, bam, here's the date, 6:15 a.m. Sometimes it's 2:27 a.m. My butt's out of bed. So is yours. Because I ask you to be present in that, I know a little bit, again, your work, the Pythia, right? The three-legged oracle, that's the energy of the spirit. And so it's the spirit is one leg, I am the other leg, and you are the other leg. And so you're awake, repeating the intention and the affirmation while I'm hand making, which is chi energy, at that exact moment for that exact intention and affirmation.
And so the website people can go to book a session with you is intentionbeads.com.
Yep.
Okay.
The one that was let go 2 days ago, 12 years ago.
Right. And we've posted that as a link in the chat for people as well.
And I just want to give a little upcoming picture. Yes, we're having all kinds of chaotic situations in the world, but Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, which my astrologer teacher called the cosmic Santa Claus. Jupiter is Zeus. Jupiter is the gift giver. Is going back into Pisces in the last two degrees of Pisces. Now that's going to hit my sun one more time, just like it did 12 years ago. Jupiter is a 12-year cycle. And so anyone looking for, and I've got a whole list of people that are already on my personal, because we're waiting for this Jupiter to go back into his place of abundance, right? Of spiritual connections of Pisces. He rules Pisces.
And that happens sometime in January. Is that correct?
Well, it happened of this year, yes,
Yes.
of 2022, and then he went quickly through Pisces into Aries in May.
Right.
Got to 8 Aries, retrograded. He's still retrograde now, and he's at 0 degrees of Aries to move back into Pisces yet this month.
Oh,
So
this month. Yay.
I won't use a Jupiter retrograde, because by the end of this month he stations direct, and then we have all of November and about 2 to 3 weeks in December to get this energy. So if anyone is looking at bringing in abundance and prosperity and peace and calm and tranquility of spiritual messages, right? And compassion and healing. These are the traits of Jupiter in Pisces. Come aboard, because I have to watch the moon, and there isn't going to be literally 6 weeks that I can make beads at any time. I have to watch the moon making an application to one of the benefics.
Right.
So really auspicious timing right now, folks.
So I would love to go into a little bit more about what we have upcoming this Saturday with Venus, if you'd like to share about that.
So as I follow the sky, the stars, this Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, the astrologers have been watching the sky. I am a Venus star point practitioner. So I even flew to Greece to get my certificate earlier this year.
And what does that mean? Explain that.
So Ariel Gutman is an astrologer. She lives in Greece. She's an American that lives there. And she started identifying the 5-pointed star, which is the rose, as you mentioned earlier. In fact, my talisman that I'm making for folks on Saturday is a blue rose, because the 5-pointed star, which is the Vitruvian Man, which is the phi, it's the Fibonacci series, it's the golden ratio, it's architecture and beauty at its balanced finest, right? And so the Venus and the Sun meet up every 9.5 months, which is really a gestation period, if you
right, of course, yes.
And they meet up in what Ariel Gutman has studied over the last 30 years. She has written a book called The Venus Star Point, and she's on the scene. You can find her anywhere. She's just talking a lot these days because of Saturday's phenomena that is coming in. But anytime Venus, which she calls kisses the sun, whether the Venus is retrograde, that will happen at one time, and then the next time it happens when she's direct. This is when she's direct, so it's a superior placement. My 2-hour presentation is all more about how she moves in the sky and creates this beautiful lotus flower of this 5-pointed star. And I look at your natal chart for this weekend to see, where is this Venus Sun kissing one another at 29 degrees of Libra? Now, we chatted about this. You talk about love. You talk about Venus is the planet of love, beauty, art, finances, because you buy beautiful things. We need, what we need with finances or material possessions, things that have value. Right? So that's what Venus represents. In Libra, she's finally in her own sign of Libra, which is aesthetics. It's about equality, women equality, the feminine equality, fairness in the world. Now, remember, this is happening in the world for the first time since 1771.
Whoa. That's epic. That's epic, right? And
we're alive.
Yeah.
And we're alive on this planet. And we look around and go, well, what's fair about any of this? Right? Because she has spent over 100 years in Scorpio, the sign after, because, she moves backwards, by the way, kind of like the nodes. She moves backwards on her Venus star point movement. So just amazing that we've been through bringing up, Scorpio, the depths, the dark, the shadows, the murk, the untruths, the scary bits and parts, right? The secrets.
Don't you kind of feel like that all of that is happening so that it pushes us into becoming more love, to seeking the light, to casting the light into the shadows, so that we can finally usher in a golden age that's been, subscribed and prescribed and foreseen for hundreds and hundreds of years in a lot of different traditions? Don't you kind of feel like that Venus is like, okay, I'm making an appearance. It's time. We're ready.
Exactly. Perfect. Well said, Allison. It really is the time for that. Now, we will watch Venus, is at 29 Libra. So man, there's 0 to 29 degrees in all the signs, right? And so when we get to 29, because remember, she's going backwards. So she's coming out of like the 3 Scorpio, the 1 Scorpio, 29 Libra first time. So to set an intention around this time is incredibly important for us to hold on to for the rest of our lives. Because in 4 years, when she comes back to do the kissing of the sun at the same area in that internal petal, she'll be a retrograde period. She'll be making that inner loop when she comes closer to the earth. She'll be back in Scorpio at 3 degrees Scorpio for just one of these kissings, if you will. So to me, let me hear your input, because you have great messages.
Well, given that this is such an auspicious time, it seems to me that we really want to take advantage of that and heighten it within ourselves. So for me, I will be doing ceremony. I'll be chanting, I'll be meditating, I'll be anointing, I'll be working with my crystals, I'll be in my meditation room, and I'll be setting intentions. I feel like this is a really great time to visualize what it is that we want to bring into our lives in terms of things that can uplift our own physical vibration and our frequency, so that we individually can move into greater frequencies of love, because it starts with the individual and then it goes to the collective.
Always. If we can secure our bubble, if we can secure our own container in love and in fairness and in relation to others, because we weren't born to be hermits, right?
Right.
There are times when we need sacred space. Got it. I'm a Pisces, I know. But to bubble into other bubbles and bubble and bubble and bubble and bubble, this is how we make a difference in the world. But we have to start in our own bubble, in our own self.
So what will you be doing personally on Saturday to enhance it?
I'm holding at 12:15 is my central time. I'm in Chicago. So anyone can join. It's a sign up, but you have to sign up ASAP, because I've just finished all the charts, because I will do charts. I will give you a big worksheet, a 2-page worksheet. But at 12:15, I begin. Everybody will have, and I'll do a little video for everybody individually on how that's working in your chart. That all comes in either tonight or tomorrow. That's why this is if you're wanting to sign up ASAP, so I can get all that data to you personally.
And that happens on intentionbeads.com too.
Yeah. And then
Okay,
I think you might have a link for intentionbeads.com/Venus Starpoint event.
Okay, perfect.
You can throw that up. But at 12:15 Chicago time, and you don't have to be there, it's recorded. Besides, you already have your printed information that I sent only to you. that is yours. So you've got the printed information. I'm either making a pair of earrings with a blue rose. That's all that picture is on my website, or a charm. So if you don't wear earrings, I never had my holes put in my ears, that you can have a charm. And so I do about a 45-minute slide presentation on what Venus is and what is the pattern that she makes in the sky. And then I go into everybody's affirmation. So I've created the intention. And then because I have to bring in the energy that's here, and then you create your own affirmation. And then I roll the bead in our session while you come forward to say your affirmation. So I'm making 2 beads if it's earrings, or 1 bead if it's a charm. But we go into ceremony. I'll do my incense. I'll do my oils. I'll do my singing bowls. We'll do a meditation. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And then your talisman earrings will come in the mail with your card, with your intention, and you'll get a card with all the data points and what you wrote, and that'll come in the mail, next week.
That's a wonderful offering. My gosh, for such an auspicious thing that we're not going to see again in our lives,
I mean, it'll come back here at 27 degrees of Libra in 8 years. So this is our step.
Will it be the same time of the year? The same?
Yes, always. Okay. In fact, it's October 22nd. Always.
Oh, wow.
But this is one of her petals, right? She makes 5 petals. So she makes 4 other petals. So my next Venus Star Point talisman ceremony will be another color of a rose that I've created, is in August of 2023. And I believe that might be the only, this is my 3rd talisman webinar ceremony that I do online, because I do them on my retreats, but that's in person, right?
Right.
So I can gather more people with the Zoom for an afternoon or an evening. Sometimes these are 2:00 in the morning. I have people up because it's so sacred. But this is my 3rd one this year. I did the Venus Heliacal Rise in January. I did the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, which will happen every 200 something years. Rare event that already happened. So I find very unusual times in the sky and hold a talisman webinar ceremony online. So to get any of that information is to subscribe. And trust me, my daughter is busy enough. My business partner, Alex, is busy enough to be sending out too many emails. You don't get overwhelmed. In fact, sometimes you're like, Sandy, I never got an email about the thing you're having in a month. I'm like, oh yeah, we're working on it. So don't worry, you're going to get too many subscribed emails from us. You won't.
That's great. That's great. So can you give our viewers and listeners some tools or techniques that they need to be aware of with their astrology, and just how to navigate the times that we're in and keep them connected into their themselves and their spirituality?
So if you don't know your natal astrology, that's a great way to start. So that would require an astrology reading.
And what is an astrology reading? For folks that have never had one, what would be your description? Yeah.
So an astrology reading is, we do it on Zoom. So I share screen. So I'm showing you your natal chart. You give me your birth. I need your birth date, your birth time, and the location where you were born. And like one man said, on the kitchen table. That's not exactly what I meant. City and state, because that will give me the longitude and latitude of location and where the stars were when you took your first breath. And that is that spindle of information that you have with you for the rest of your life. That's a really great way to start, just to know who you are, what you possess, right? Where are your difficulties in, if you have a Saturn or a Mars, these are the 2 malefics, Although Mars gets us up and motivated in the morning and makes us stand and fight for our rights. But Mars is the planet of war. And I don't know if we have time to talk about Mars retrograding in Gemini at the end of this month.
I'd love to hear that, because I'm a double Aries and I have worked with Mars my whole life.
Okay. So just to be, we can talk, let's put that,
Yeah.
I'll talk about that because I would love to. Everybody needs to know about that. And then Saturn. Saturn is the planet of restriction, limitations, delays. So if you, like I in my natal chart right now, in my transits, I have something going on with Saturn. And so I knew this and I knew it coming up. So it's like, okay, Saturn, I know you've walked in my front door. I'm going to put you in the corner and watch me control myself. Watch me discipline myself. You can be the teacher over there, but you don't need to tell me when to stop, when to start. So just to know that Saturn was in my vicinity of my ascendant, it's actually opposing my ascendant. So to get a lot of pushback or, those feelings, I'm not good enough. I don't have energy. I don't feel like it. I knew I was going to have that in 2022. So how to work with that? I'm on a very strict, because I chose it, a strict food program. Well, yay, I've lost 15 pounds because I chose the discipline that Saturn was going to deal me anyway. So let me benefit from it instead of flogging myself, right? Or, born Catholic. Okay.
We could talk about that a whole, yeah, but we're not going to go there.
So, I mean, that's old. And, that's so,
yeah.
So to know that information, that's number one. Number two, if you don't want an astrology reading, and you don't have to, is to believe in something in yourself. I do my mantras. I mantra Ganesh every morning and every night. I have a very strong spiritual practice. I've been doing this for now over a year without a break. I have not broken my 108 prayer.
Beautiful.
To Ganesh and to my Venus in my 10th house and very well equipped in Taurus. So that's important, to be dedicated to a spiritual practice. The other thing is, I'm going to go back to my intention bracelets.
Yeah.
And as I was mentioning, these intention bracelets all have this little dangle bead. See the dangle, or the smaller bead between the Swarovskis? Yeah. This is the gratitude bead. And I know you are incredibly into gratitude, Allison.
Oh, yeah.
I saw this that day when I was pushed over in the garden. I saw there has to be a gratitude bead on this piece. And it has to be separate from the ask.
Right.
So if the ask is the intention, right, which is, our want, our desire, then once we intend that, say our affirmation, we immediately, before we put our bracelet on, we have to go down to the gratitude bead. And my instruction on this is, and I do this as an activation call when somebody purchases one, it's an automatic call that is set up between the two of us, is be grateful for something, one thing. And it could be a good hair day, right? One thing that has occurred in the last 24 hours that you would like to thank your God, your universe for, that put something in your path that you said thank you for. And then you surrender to the intention, the ask, the comment, and the gratitude. And now you move forward. We move on throughout the day. And what's so really interesting, Allison, is the fact that, and I know that what will occur, because it's happened with me multiple times, and it's happened with some of my talisman wearers, my my intention tribe, if you will, is throughout the day, you'll be like, oh, the call from my son is my gratitude for tomorrow morning. Oh, that really nice dinner with my girlfriend is going to be my gratitude for tomorrow morning, right? But when we get to that next morning and we put on our jewels, right, our intention, it never is. You know why? Because you've already thanked in gratitude when you recognized it was there.
Right.
So it has put you into this synergetic thing of, oh, I look good today. That's going to be my gratitude for tomorrow, right? But there's always more. There's always more. And universe already heard that.
Right. One of the fastest ways to change the negative hardwiring in the brain is to have a notepad next to your bed. And first thing in the morning, you wake up and you list 3 things you're grateful for. And the last thing you do before you go to sleep, 3 different things that you're grateful for. Reprograms the brain to look for the positive instead of the negative. Sandy, I want to ask you too, since I know I'm just kind of watching the clock, I want to be able to talk about the eclipses coming up because I know those are going to have a big impact on all of us.
Yeah. So eclipses happen in pairs. Sometimes we get 3 eclipses in one section, which would be about a 6-week period. But this year we got 2 April, May, and we're getting 2 November 25th and November 8th. Oh, November 8th sounds familiar. And so those are the upcoming eclipses that are happening in our world, which are tangible. Now, I want to pause for a second, and I write the year ahead, like I'm going to be going, and I always go away for this. I spend time away out of my own sanctuary. I'm going to head to Santa Fe on a train in December to write my entire 2023 year ahead calendar. I'll be going through every single day. So I need my time alone. Now, when I did that in December of 2021 for 2022, I'm looking at these eclipses and going, this eclipse that's happening on November 8th, this would be my conflict day of the year with what is going on. So my friend who's an astrologer, I said, man, did you take a look at November 8th? What a conundrum. If I use the word catastrophe or chaotic, and she goes, well, that's election, that's midterm elections. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Could not be a more crazy day and important day at the same time.
So what I've kind of keyed my peoples into, my tribe, is know before we even get to October 25th, which is our first eclipse, and I'll go over that in more detail too. Know who you're voting for and why. And stand on that. Stand on that. I'm not telling you who to vote for, right? We all have our own voice. We all have our own values. Know who you are, because there is going to be, there's Venus has combust the sun. Mercury is out of the sun's rays. So there's more of a clear there. But just to know what your direction is, because it's going to get confusing. It's going to get confusing. So this first one that we're going to get the new moon, which is called the solar eclipse, is always at a new moon. And I know it gets really hard to understand what the definition of that. So if we think of a new moon, and we know that every month the sun and the moon meet up where we can't see the moon, right? Because the moon is so close to the sun. And I go like this, but sometimes the moon's here, sometimes the moon's here. in a conjunction. It's not exactly on the eclipses. They're right on the same. They're right at the same ecliptic area. Maybe not degree, but within an 18-degree force. So new moon's coming. In fact, we're looking at the moon right now, and it's totally waning, right? It's losing light, and so we're getting this disseminating moon, waning moon, and we're going to get the new moon. And solar eclipse is the sun. Solar is eclipsed. The moon passes in front of the sun. So if you think about the sun being the king and the moon being the queen, right? Because the sun has the masculine energy and the moon, the feminine energy. So the masculine energy is going away, eclipsed by the emotional feminine. So this is titled is moderation in relationships, because it's happening at 2 degrees of Scorpio, and Venus is involved. And Venus is in Scorpio by this point. And so the rule, and the north node, this is a south node, which means it's a time to eliminate and to purge. You may choose that day to go on a fast, whether it's a juice fast or whatever type of letting go. And maybe it's just cleaning out a drawer, right? Giving some things to donating. That's a really great way to pay attention, because there's something about something that's hidden because it's in Scorpio. So Venus does not, it's going to take Venus about 5 weeks to come up in her heliacal rise. All right, so there we start. Now, we're not going to see that in the United States. This will be in Europe. Now, Europe, right in that area of where all that conflict is going on that we're involved in.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, you see it in the stars.
Yeah, and my good friend astrologer also pointed out that the exact area, pinpointed area, is the pipeline that Russia has foul play to get any of that liquid Scorpio, liquid water, liquid energy to Germany. It's hitting right there. So we'll be watching for some as above, so below systems to be happening over a time period. It may not happen exactly on that date. It does set up a continuance of things. Now, you want to go 2 weeks later?
Yes, go for it.
2 weeks later, because, we get the new moon. 2 weeks later, we get the full moon. So this is when they're opposite, and we get the lunar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse means the moon is eclipsed by the earth. So it's, we usually see bright white moon from the reflection of the sun, but because the nodes are so close, the earth is in the center of it. And so we will get that very red, diffused, not white, but more red, orangey, kind of pinky notion. Now, this is a total lunar eclipse, and we're going to see that. So I've got it already in my calendar that I'm waking my butt up. This will be at 5:02 a.m. Chicago time. However, it's going to start at 2 a.m. where we're going to start making it happen, because it's about it's a period of time that the exact one is at 5:02. But if you think about 5:02 and the sun, if this is the horizon, my hands are funny. If this is the sun and here's the moon, and the sun comes up, bless you. I know. Let it go, Allison.
I just wanted to be so loud.
But that's exactly that. People blow your nose, clean your ear, scrape your tongue.
Oh, it's been happening for me, I'll tell you.
Well, the spiritual being that you are so connected, I'm not telling you to use some cleansing, use some of your, I don't know, I don't want to throw some garden of Eden
Right.
stuff that you can use to purge your bowels. Seriously.
It's been happening automatically.
Me too.
I mean, it's just been that I've been purging probably for the last 3 months, and I'm seeing it's in preparation for this. I love getting this insight because it's like, oh, well, yeah, no wonder.
Yeah, it's you're in tune. You're in tune. But for those that aren't in tune, they can adjust their body by planning on having some eating some of that roughage,
Right.
to start moving things.
Sandy, I wanted to also ask you too, and I want to make sure we have time for this, about your retreats too, because I want to hear what happens in your retreats. There's so much to talk about. I mean,
I do a lot.
Yeah,
I do a lot, and I laugh because it's like, it's a good thing I'm not in a relationship, because all I like to do is work. Because it's my passion, it's my passion. We all have our passion.
I understand that very
well. Work
well.
is a job, career, and profession. It's profession, passion. Sounds like. But my retreats. So of course, all retreats had to be put on pause for a while. But I have 3 in 2023. I was able to run my Mexico retreat in 2022. But I do 3 a year, and they're constant. And my first one is always the first Saturday of January. I am grandmothered in. I'm not a grandma, but I'm grandmothered in at Casa Tara in La Ventana, Mexico. They're my clients, and they built a magnificent, eco-friendly, very, very private boutique retreat center. Ooh. So that's always the first Saturday. So this coming up year is January 7th through the 14th. It is 7 days here. And I'm teaching in your natal chart, because I'm teaching astrology, is what's going on in the sky. Because you're living it on the below Earth here. And that's Mars retrograde. So while we're there, weirdly, because I always get the same times every year, Mars will be stationing direct while we're there. And so where's your passion? Where's your fight? Fight's good. That's a survival technique, right? But we don't have to have fear and fight at the same time.
Right.
Unless we're being told to run and get the hell out of here, right?
Right.
But to what is motivating us in this Mars retrograde that's happening the day before Halloween in just a week or so, will give us this 72-day reminder of what motivates us? How do we express our individual side through our intelligence and communication, Gemini? So I'll be teaching that for, looking back over in fact, the people that are already signed up and coming, I've been giving them emails and dates of things to note on their calendar or journal to bring with them. We will talk about certain things that have already happened in their lives and how to navigate out of that, because some things aren't important.
That's great.
Bali.
Useful. Yeah.
Bali. Oh my God. I can't wait to live there. Bali is always in April because it's in between the monsoon rainy season and the hot, humid period of the, heated summer. And this is April 1st through the 11th. And I'm teaching Saturn moving into Pisces, first time in 30 years. And how that affects you in your natal chart. And Pluto moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius, which I'm going to like. Everyone, I think, will like this way, 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 way better. And how those are affecting your internal clock, your natal chart. And then Greece, it's an island, very low inhabited, 1,500 inhabitants on this island. They just got electricity in 83. That's 1983.
Wow.
And it's called Amargos Island in Greece. And I'm teaching the mythology in your natal chart because we're going to teach it. I'll tell you the story. I'll tell how it affects you. Some stories don't affect you. We don't all have the same mythology stories. And then we'll look up to the sky and we'll find it. So you'll always be able to find your stars, your fixed stars in the dark sky.
Oh, they all sound fantastic. And again, those are all on your website, intentionbeads.com, and they can find the retreats. I'm definitely going to get on your email list because I love everything that you've shared.
We could see what we could do together, Allison.
I'm sure we could co-create something amazing. Yeah, we'll talk about that offline.
We should. No,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I am too. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Sign me up. So tell us about the charity that you are promoting.
You know, it's Halloween time. It's trick or treat. UNICEF is doing a really nice non-candy. Who needs candy? Because Halloween's not my favorite time of the year, but yet it's children's favorite time of the year. And this charity gives to, this is food, clothing, school supplies, things that are in need that can fill up their trick-or-treat basket because you're gifting something that they don't know they need.
Beautiful.
Right? Because they don't need that Reese's Pieces, but they need that pencil. They need that pair of socks.
Yes,
so that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll post that link in the chat as well. And we'll also be sending out blog with information around this. So as we kind of wind up, what other story or inspiration would you love to share with people just to sum up who you are and how people can benefit from learning more about what you do?
I mean, I've got multiple personal stories from clients that have given me permission to talk about this all the time. But with just such a short amount of time left here today, I won't get into the storylines, but it's about prepare yourself for your story, right? Don't wait for a situation to occur that's your story now, right? That will happen. We will have situations in our lives that, oh, that roof needs to be fixed. Here's the bill. Oh, so-and-so got this diagnosis. Oh, so-and-so. Well, those are life enduring situations. We will get those. So don't wait. Plan for something auspicious. And along the way, those things will happen. But you have your eye on a goal. Don't take your eye off the goal. Can I share the intention I'm wearing today specifically?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
a perfect way to share towards the end here.
I'm wearing this one right here because this was a personal. I made it directly for my intention and my birth chart to enjoy positive public attention, right? This is a goal, right? I'm a Pisces. I'd rather be a wallflower, right?
And here you are out in front of people right now. Look at how you manifested.
So here's my affirmation. I shine no matter what the conditions in the world are. I am noticed for my life force and vitality. Others can see and feel it in themselves as well. So this is the intention I put in on March 21st of 2021 at 6:51 a.m. here in Evanston, Illinois, when the moon was conjunct my natal moon and square to my Venus and conjunct my natal sun. So it was just a time to be sunshine, vitality out in the public world. So I put that on today. Thank you, Allison. Thank
Perfect.
you, Margot, for inviting me, and I got to wear that and be it.
Awesome. This has been such a great conversation. I so appreciate you, Sandy Rueve, and all of her information is in the chat. Thank you, Marla, for allowing me to be in this guided conversation, and look forward to so much more. Thank you all so much.